One thing that I hear and see often from people who are starting a WordPress website is that they get stuck in some point of building their website. And the majority of the times, the reason that they got stuck is because they didn't understand the fundamentals of what is WordPress to begin with. And thus, in this two-part series of Intro to WordPress, this is Intro to WordPress Part 1, which is mostly, let's call it a dry tutorial because I'm not actually taking you inside WordPress, but I'm explaining to you the basics of WordPress. And part 2 will be actually playing around with a theme and building different things, seeing how our dashboard changed and explaining all that. This two-part series was previously on my Patreon, and since Patreon was closed, I decided to bring this series here. However, because maybe things have changed, or maybe the original video included things that are only relevant to Patreon, I'm going to show you the video that I have recorded, but it will be edited with me coming in and out of the video. This me that is here now in November 2024. We're going to get back to me in a minute. That was past me. She was blonde, by the way, and she's going to explain to you the intro to WordPress part 1. But before I do that, I just have to get one thing out of the way first, and that is, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mero, and I teach creative people how to sell their art online, and this is Intro to WordPress part 1 from Patreon. Hello world, and welcome to our WordPress video. I'm not saying hello world because this is my new way of starting a Patreon video by far. I'm saying hello world because that is the first post, that is the first blog post that exists when you open a WordPress blog. And that's the topic of today's video, which is called Let's Talk About WordPress. I have seen countless WordPress tutorials online over the last few years. I've made some. And the biggest issue that I found with these WordPress tutorials, the ones I saw and the ones that I made myself, is that they teach you how to do what they did in the video. They don't actually teach you how WordPress works. And I've seen this in comments and DMs along the years and even emails with people saying, I installed WordPress and my screen doesn't look like yours. Well, probably because they have a different theme, because every theme acts differently. Or people who suddenly broke their website, not knowing why, not knowing that a plugin can break your website. I've had people asking me if I prefer Hostinger or WordPress for hosting, even though you can use WordPress on Hostinger. I've also had viewers telling me that their blog starts with an about page because they simply created an about page as a post. And all of these confusions stem from the fact that they try to follow up a tutorial without understanding first what WordPress is, what it looks like, what are the things inside of it. So I even asked you guys on Patreon, what would you like to know about WordPress? And a lot of the responses I got showed me that there is a fundamental misknowledge or misinformation about WordPress itself. So in this video, I feel like I have to apologize. We will not be building a WordPress blog. I will have that on a video as I'm starting the WordPress blogging series. So this is part 1 to the series, and it's about understanding what WordPress is, understanding these words like open source code or closed environment. What is hosting, SSL, domain? What are you supposed to do if you're operating on a CMS, which is, again, a lot of these terms that I am looking to explain here in this video. Now, because this video is going to contain a lot of dry information that might be technical and boring to some people, I will try to do some kind of editing tricks. I don't know, zoom in, zoom out, maybe some effects on the screen with editing. Don't worry, nothing that is new or triggering. Maybe just like photos and titles and things like that. And I will also be combining some of my funny stories or general stories from my years of operating my own blogs and from experience working with clients. And I hope that through these stories and through these effects in the video will be easier to watch. I do highly recommend grabbing your notebook or a piece of paper, a pen or a pencil, because you might want to write things down. And of course, if at any point I'm explaining something and giving an example that you don't quite understand, feel free to comment down below and ask me specifically about that part. What did I mean? And I'd be happy to explain it forward. Okay, I'm going to start with saying that WordPress is a CMS. And what is a CMS? Okay, first of all, CMS is a content management system. It's basically a way for people who are not developers, who do not touch code, to code a website. It's a system for you to manage your content, to reach your content, to upload a blog post without accessing the code, to upload a photo without accessing the storage of the website by simply uploading media. It's a way for non-developer people to create their own website. I'm pretty sure that most of you know a lot of CMSs, and you might not have known that these are CMSs because Shopify is a CMS, Hostinger Website Builder is a CMS, Wix is a terrible CMS. Sorry, my opinion in the mix here. Squarespace is a CMS as well as PayHip. All of these platforms allow you to build a website or a store without accessing the code itself as a non-developer person. Now, I actually have a really cool way of explaining CMS versus coding a website, and I hope that you guys have been playing Sims when you were kids, or 5 years ago, or 13 years ago, or 30 years ago. When was Sims popular? I don't know. I grew up with Sims and I love it. Now, the way that I like to explain building a website, whether it's CMS or code, is basically by explaining building a house. So imagine that when you have a code, you are building a house from scratch. You are laying down the bricks, you are planning the structure, you are placing the electrical grid of the house, the plumbing of the house, planning for it before even building the rooms. You have to plan everything, you have to organize everything, and build everything by hand. That would be to build a website with code. A CMS is sort of like this house that was dropped down from the sky and is already built. And I do like to use the Sims example because it's super easy to understand if you've seen the game Sims. Because on Sims, while I do have a structure of a house, I can also build a wall, add windows, add an electrical appliance that's going to be close to a wall that is apparently going to work even though I didn't know there was an electrical socket there. And that's what a CMS does. It basically builds the house for you to a certain extent while giving you the option to add more rooms, add more floors, add different images on the wall, and call the house in a different name. I hope that was kind of clear to understand the difference between a CMS and code. Now, it's really important to understand that WordPress as a CMS is called open source.
Open what now?
Open source means that the code is out there, anyone can use it and download it, and it isn't restricted to a specific environment. And it is different from Shopify, PayHip, Squarespace, Wix, that are not an open source. With these CMSs, you can only operate the code, you can only build that house when you're hosted on these platforms. So, for example, you have to be hosted on Shopify to use Shopify. You have to have PayHip as your hosting service to build a website on PayHip. Same with Wix. I haven't said the word Wix so many times in a long time, as well as with Squarespace or with any CMS that is giving you the technology that is hosted only on that space. So, for example, if I built a website on Squarespace, I have to keep paying them hosting because if I would want to host it on a different platform, I wouldn't be able to because they own the technology. Now, if I'm looking at Hostinger, which is my personal favorite hosting service, and I am a Hostinger affiliate, I'm saying it upfront, but I've been recommending Hostinger for years before I became their affiliate. And the reason for that is because they really have good customer support on chat. They're friendly people. They do not argue with you if they broke your website and you didn't, like GoDaddy. Thank you, GoDaddy. And they cost far less than, for example, again, GoDaddy. They have programs or hosting packages that you can host multiple websites on the same hosting package, as well as their own website builder. There was a tutorial about their website builder on the YouTube channel. I will leave a link to that one down below. But again, if I will be hosting my website on Hostinger using the Hostinger website builder, I can only use Hostinger. But if I'm using WordPress, I can change to a different hosting platform. I can switch to GoDaddy, to Bluehost, to Blueshark. I don't know the other names of hosting services anymore. I'm kind of out of the development game for a while. But the most important thing is that WordPress basically builds your house on wheels and you can sort of make it appear and reappear in different hosting services. So one thing that I did want to do when I was with GoDaddy is to migrate my website, basically take my entire website hosted on GoDaddy and make it hosted on Hostinger because GoDaddy had some hacks and issues. I did not do that on time and I lost a 6-year project. For those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that. But that is basically the difference between an open source and a closed source or a closed environment. There is something that stems from having an open source code that I need you guys to understand. And that is, I feel like, the place where a lot of people get wrong information or don't know that things can go wrong. If you have a store on Shopify, all the plugins, the add-ons, the features that you're going to see are from the Shopify App Store. Whether you pay for them or they're free, they are hosted on Shopify, they are verified by Shopify, and Shopify can give you support if anything goes wrong. That is the same case with Squarespace, with PayHip, with Hostinger Website Builder, and Wix. But that's not the case with WordPress. Because this is an open source, anyone can develop a plugin for WordPress, a theme for WordPress, and you can easily install something that breaks your website completely, hurts your website, or spam your website. And I think it's one of the main reasons I wanted to make this video in this format, because I want to explain to you how this can happen so you can avoid it, because there are ways of avoiding it and there are ways of fixing it. I feel like I have to give a little bit of a small explanation to the words hosting, domains, and SSL. We are in a house. We're talking about the house analogy, right? So the domain, which is, at this moment we're at patreon.com, we have youtube.com, you have your own domain when you purchase it. So I don't know, whatever your name is. I have mayaroyo.com, maytribe.com, that's a domain. And the way I like to compare it to a house is that the domain is basically the name of the property or the title or the deed of the property with your name attached to it. And I feel like this is important to say because when I was working as a WordPress developer or a WordPress website builder in Israel, I have encountered, sadly more than once, clients that I work with that the domain and hosting service is listed on the developer who built them the website instead of themselves. So if you ever find yourself in a position that you want to hire someone to build your website, make sure that you yourself purchase your hosting package and the domain. That is the deed to your house. The same way that you will not have a realtor sign the deed to your house because they were the one showing you the house. The hosting is basically the ground that the house stands on. If the ground is shaky or unstable, the website is going to simply not load or get hacked. And hosting services, again, as I mentioned, GoDaddy, Bluehost, I'm using Hostinger, and there is an endless list. You might find in certain cases that if you want to have a domain that ends in your specific country, it can only be hosted in that country. So for example, websites in Israel are ending with .co.il, and .co.il websites cannot be hosted on any hosting service that is not Israeli. The same way that Misho, when he's buying his domains for Slovakian services, he's buying .sk domains that can only be hosted in Slovakia. Last but not least, an SSL. If you go to a website, pretty much any website that you frequently visit, you're going to see this lock icon at the top of the screen, and that means that the website has SSL and it's secure. It also affects the HTTP of that website. Every domain starts with HTTP, but domains that are not secure will be http:// and the ones that are secure will be https://. The SSL is basically the lock to your house and the alarm system to your house. I hope that was clear. With some hosting services, you have to pay SSL monthly. With other hosting services, you get a lifetime SSL for when you purchase a domain in a package, which is the case with Hostinger, which is, again, one of the reasons I keep recommending them. I would like to also mention a question that came from Michelle Ivers. I think it's Ivers. I don't know if it's Ivers or Evers. I am answering a lot of your questions here, but that was specifically something that she mentioned, that she really doesn't know the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. And that is a very big difference. WordPress.com is the hosting service for WordPress websites. While WordPress is an open source and I can use it with any hosting environment, I can also host it on WordPress.com. Now, I haven't been to WordPress.com in ages because, again, I'm not using WordPress.com to host any of my things. But if I quickly go on to plans and pricing, I can see that they have so many different types of pricing. Starting from free, when you basically get a subdomain, you are still under the domain of WordPress, but it's going to be something like mayaroyo.wordpress.com or whatever website name you have. This is also something you can get, for example, from PayHip or from Wix. You have the option to pay for a personal website, €4 a month. I'm seeing it in euros. It might be in dollars for you, obviously. You have €8, €25, €45 for a commerce to sell something, which is a lot of money per month, especially if you compare it to other hosting plans, which is why I do not recommend using WordPress.com as your hosting service. Now, WordPress.org is a website that gathers the information about WordPress. For example, if I want to check if a plugin is good or not, or a theme, I can search for that on WordPress.org to see other people's reviews on that plugin or theme. The actual software, the actual code, the actual build, this technology is pretty much available with any hosting service. So for example, if I want to have a WordPress website, it doesn't matter pretty much what hosting service I'm going to use. They're going to have a way to install WordPress, so you actually don't have to download anything from WordPress itself. The way I look at it, if you want to play around with WordPress for free, get a subdomain from WordPress for free, like yourdomain.wordpress.com, or get a hosting service with a WordPress installed to it using WordPress.org as a way to get some information. And I hope that was clear. Moving on to themes, because that is basically what a lot of people get confused with or get stuck with. And that is one of the most crucial steps in building this house that we're building this website. Well, WordPress or any CMS is an instant builder of a house. You instantly have a house with several doors, several windows, several rooms. And you can add more rooms, you can add more walls, you can add more floors. However, you might be limited in the way that you can do this. You might be limited in the color of the walls or the font of the walls in this case. But a theme gives you so much more. A theme gives you a better way to build your house, an easier access to your house. Once you install WordPress, you are automatically installed with the latest WordPress default theme, and your website is pretty much going to look like this, which is nothing. This is, I just literally installed WordPress right now, and this is how it looks. Not much of anything. Now, in order to log into your WordPress website, as an editor, you have to go to your website and then /wp admin, and that will take you to your login page. You can also log in from your hosting service, and I will be talking more about that when I give a full walkthrough of everything. But when you're logged in and looking at your website, if you simply click on the name of the website, you will enter the dashboard. Now, the dashboard is your way of managing the entire code of the website as a non-developer. And as you can see, we have a sidebar to our left. It will be to the right if the website is in Hebrew or in Arabic, because right to left. But right now we have it to the left in English, and you will see dashboard, home, updates, posts, media, pages, comments, appearances, and all that. This is a default way of WordPress to look like. However, as I mentioned, when you update a theme that is more complex, you're going to have more accessibility to building your own website without having to use code. And in that case, looking at a website that I started building a few years ago called thinkwallart.com, this has the Kadence or Kadence, I always forget which way it's written, theme on it. It looks a lot more complex. Obviously, there is data here, but even if I look on the sidebar of the dashboard itself, you can see that the dashboard looks incredibly different. It holds more space, more settings, more menu items to click on to customize your website. Now, this is true for any type of theme or anything you do on any website. The more complex the theme is, the more control you have over what it does. However, it is more complicated to get things right. Now, there are a lot of free themes and a lot of paid themes for WordPress. You can find free themes on actual WordPress. When you control the theme, there will be a lot of free themes that pop in there, or on wordpress.org. You can purchase themes. I personally recommend from themeforest.net. I think it's themeforest.net and not themeforest.org. Yes, it's themeforest.net, which I have used in the past to purchase my themes. However, along the years, there were a lot of themes that popped up that are not paid nor free. They're freemium. And freemium, for those of you who don't know, is not just a WordPress definition, is anything that is free with a premium added access that is paid. In this case, 3 WordPress themes that I love using the most, which are Astra, Kadence, or Kadence, I keep calling it wrong, and Ocean WP, are freemium themes. There are themes that are free to download, free to install to your WordPress, and also have demo content that you can use for free. However, they also have a lot more complex features to better customize your website and perform better that cost money. Present May here. I have been working with the freemium themes of Astra, Ocean WP, and Kadence for several years now. I like what they have to offer with their free themes, and up until a few months ago, I didn't really mind that. But I have given a shot to all three platforms with their pro memberships to see what they give you. And I found that with Astra and Ocean, I didn't really feel like the pro membership is, I don't know, worth it in a way, mostly because they have good templates on their free side, and I didn't find that the pro features were, I don't know, worth the investment. However, I did get a look into Kadence Pro and I loved them, which is why I reached out to Kadence and asked them some questions about their Pro, as well as got a discount for you guys in case you want to use Kadence Pro. The details of this discount will be listed down below in the description. The reason why I like all of these themes, which are Astra, Kadence, and Ocean WP, is that they, plus a lot of other themes obviously, come with demo content. Now, what is demo content? Let me just go into Astra for a second. It's one of the most popular themes. And on Astra, if you can look on your screen, there is something called starter templates. These are templates of how the theme can look like, with someone already using the theme to design multiple types of pages. And you can make your website look like these templates. Some of them are free, some of them are premium. As you can see, there is a crown here for any theme that is premium, which means you have to pay for it. However, if I'm just going to go to a simple template that is free, let me choose, for example, the organic store. I can click on live preview to watch this demo content. And at this point, I would like to also recommend something. See the URL up top on this? If I was going to choose this theme or this template, what I would do is I would take this and send it to myself on Facebook. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can open it from my phone and see that it's actually mobile friendly and it looks good on a phone. There is no point spending so much time building a website and then finding out that the theme is not mobile friendly. There is no point. In any case, what you can see here is that this is actually for a store. It has all of these best-selling products involved, and this is already like really well designed. And the thing is that this is not a template to show you what you can do. This is literally a template that you can copy immediately to your own website. However, maybe you don't want to have a shop, maybe you just want to have a blog. So I'm going to go here to all of the starter templates, and I'm going to find a blog starter template and look at how that looks like. We have a lot of paid ones, a lot of paid ones. Let's go into, for example, we have the fashion lifestyle blog and have a look at that one. And this is the home page of the blog, very stylish, very fashion, and it has a built-in blog for you to add your posts and viewers to read. It comes already made with all of these, and all you have to do is switch the information. Obviously, you can customize it, change the font, change the colors, of course, change the photos. But my recommendation, because there is such an extensive amount of themes and templates, is for you to go over, seriously, Astra, Ocean WP, and Cadence. Go over their starter templates and see if one of them looks like what you want your website to look like, the way you want your website to be designed, and go with that one because that is the closest to what you need to do. A person who is building websites to himself, to herself, to other people, that knows how to find the right theme is saving themselves so much work down the road. So much work. These were themes that were built by experts. They know what they're doing. They build something that looks good, the same way that in the Pinterest video, I told people to use Pinterest pin templates that were made by expert designers. Use templates and themes made by expert designers. That's it. Now, the process of installing these demo content themes to your actual WordPress website might be a little bit different from theme to theme because they're using different ways to do it, a slight different technology because It is a different theme made by a different creator. But let's say that I will choose Astra or WP Ocean and you wanted to choose Kadence and you don't know how to install the demo because it looks differently than what I did. That's not an issue. Go to YouTube and, for example, if you want to upload demo content of Astra, type in Astra WP, how to upload demo content. I feel like a big difference between past me talking about WordPress and present me talking about WordPress is the fact that a lot of companies, including WordPress themes, have decided to integrate AI within their theme builders. In this series, I'm not using AI features because they didn't exist, but in the next double series, which will be in approximately a week or two, when I'm going to do the blog section, I will be using the AI features of Kadence. Whenever you upload a theme to WordPress, you are first installing the theme, then you are activating the theme, and then it asks you in the process of activating the theme or in the process of installing demo content if you want to install the recommended plugins. Plugins are add-ons to the code that allows you to play around with the code a little bit differently. And if you want to use a full demo, if you want your website to look exactly like in the demo, you will have to install these plugins. What are examples of plugins? And I feel like using examples of plugins is the best way to explain what plugins are. So, for example, if you want to integrate Printful with your store on WordPress, you will have a Printful plugin. That is a plugin that basically connects the information from Printful to your WordPress website. Now, if you want to sell Printful, you're going to have to connect it to a WordPress website that is a store. And that means that you have installed and activated the WooCommerce plugin, which is free, by the way. And that integrates with the Printful plugin, making sure that Printful talks to your website and shop and they talk between each other. And that's very nice whenever someone makes an order or whenever you want to import products. We also have website building plugins or website editor plugins or website designer plugins, which I think the one that is most commonly known is Elementor. Elementor quite, to be honest, change the game when it comes to design because it gives you so much more control on how you can design and even post posts and pages on WordPress. WordPress has its own very, very, very basic editor that for some people, that basic editor will work just fine. And I feel like this is something that I will also be talking about in the next video where I'm going to show everything from inside the dashboard. Some of the themes that I mentioned don't actually work only with Elementor. They also have something called the Beaver Builder. We also have Divi, which is a theme with templates. I personally don't like Divi that much, but it's also a good option for that. That's Divi. And you have Gutenberg and a lot of other plugins that basically create a different design space for you to design your posts and your pages, to basically create this drag and drop feeling where you literally, okay, this is text, okay, this is a photo, kind of like the Hostinger website builder a little bit. And my favorite one out of all of them is WordPress, even though I have been known to use the Beaver Builder every now and again. We also have other plugins. For example, if you want to connect your WordPress website to a newsletter service such as MailChimp, you will have a plugin that connects to that. There is also a plugin that I've used a lot when working with clients that is called the Under Construction website. It's in the case that you have a website that already has some traffic, but you want to change it, then I delete everything and put in the Under Construction plugin, and that basically takes over the entire website. So no matter what page someone goes to, unless they're an admin, they will see that we are currently working on this website. However, if I'm going to the website as logged in as admin, I can see the website the way I'm building it. It's a way to hide the website from people that I really like. And also another plugin that I really, really love, especially when I'm making tutorials or when I'm changing my mind, is a plugin to delete everything. Because when you install a theme or a template and it comes with all of these demo content in it, and then you decide you don't really like it, it's really hard to manually delete all of the images, all of the posts, all of the categories, all of the tags, all of the information. Instead, you can just upload a plugin that deletes everything. I am warning you, it deletes everything. Everything. It will delete everything you wrote or everything you've done. There are also plugins that allow you certain access to the code. One of them is called header and footer, and that's mostly used when you want to basically prove to a certain platform that you own this website. And that usually happens with Pinterest because Pinterest would want to verify that this is your website, which means you have to take a piece of code that Pinterest gives you and put it in your website. And since you're not supposed to enter the code if you're not a developer, I recommend using these plugins. We'll be talking more about that in terms of best practices and when I show you exactly what I'm doing with my website. The flies here are so annoying. It's like the season where the flies are just everywhere and it's annoying. Plugins can damage your website. As I mentioned in the beginning, WordPress is open source, which means anyone can decide to develop something for WordPress and you can find it online. And they can actually break your website. A funny example of that would be someone who grew up with me in school that contacted me. I think it was 2015 or 16. She sent me a message asking me if I know a good developer because she knows I'm in the process of designing websites because her website basically disappeared or gone or something and she doesn't know what happened. She spoke to someone about it and that person told her that this will be very expensive to fix and she can't afford it. So she thought maybe I'd know someone who will give a discount. I told her, first of all, a developer is not a WordPress developer. WordPress developers are trained on the WordPress environment and know how to access this type of code with HTML, CSS, and PHP and other things like JavaScript. But a normal developer can mess up things with WordPress as well. I am sort of a WordPress developer because I do know how to access the code on WordPress. And I asked her if I can have a look inside her dashboard to see if I can spot the problem myself. She did have access to the dashboard, to the editor, basically, of this WordPress CMS, but she couldn't actually load the website. It would just not load. And then I noticed that there is a Pinterest plugin. It's a plugin that makes it easier for people to pin from your website, even though if someone uses Pinterest, they will have the Pinterest extension. So that plugin is a bit of an overkill, but fine. I've never seen the developer of that plugin. I typed in the name of that plugin on wordpress.org to check reviews, and lo and behold, most of the reviews said that this plugin immediately disabled their website and fucked everything up, which in that case, I told her to go to her hosting provider and load up the backup from the day before she updated that Pinterest plugin and her website was restored. That was a matter of about 12 minutes overall to fix something that if you don't know how easy it is to fix, you will get scammed by someone who wants a lot of money to fix a very small issue. Very small issue. That was one of the story anecdotes. I hope it was entertaining. I just want to stop here to mention that if you've been having any problems with your plugins or your theme or anything like that, and just general questions about your WordPress website, obviously you can do that in the comment section down below. However, it's really hard sometimes to understand what the question is without a screenshot, and we cannot add screenshots to YouTube comments, which is one of the reasons I think that we have our Facebook community. And I recommend you scroll down to the description of this video and check out our free community over on Facebook, where if you get stuck with something or you don't know what went wrong, just take a bunch of screenshots and upload it with a detailed post, and either myself or other people in the group can help you out. Or in general, if you're a creative person who's looking to sell on Etsy, digital downloads, print on demand, sell on other marketplaces, your own stores, feel free to join our group. I feel like in the past almost 4 years, we've created an amazing community, and I welcome you all to it. So we also have, again, as we know, hosting backup. And when you are choosing a hosting service, it's important to know where your backups are. You can chat with them and ask them to know what to do in case you mess up your website. And I highly recommend, if there is a plugin you really want to use, but you're not sure how it's going to work with what you're doing, make sure to update that plugin on a different day than anything else you're doing. Because if you build your entire website and then update this plugin and it fucks everything up, then the last 24 hours of backup kind of, don't include everything you've added, and it's kind of a shame. So work on your website with the plugins recommended by the theme. Hold it for a day or two. If you want to add a specific plugin, just add it on a separate day so that you can always go and use the 24 hours ago backup. Now on WordPress, we also have sidebars and widgets. It also comes with headers and footers. So the header is on top, the footer is down below, and the sidebar is on this side or this side or on both of them, because that is also an option. And when we're designing our website, it is important to understand where these things appear, because You can have a website that on the front page there will be a sidebar, and that sidebar will basically feature whatever you want it to feature: a search, your recent posts, a photo that sends people to a specific product, and you can have that sidebar featured on all of the pages or only on post pages in your blog. You can have that sidebar appear on a specific category or not, again, depending on the level of control and complexity of the theme you've chosen. You also have a footer. And one thing that I need people to understand is that a footer is going to appear on every single page, on all of them, unless you disable that, but it's going to appear on all of them. And usually people use the footer for things like copyright disclaimer, as well as list of pages, and basically the information you want to have on every single page. Now, if I have to look at maytribe.com, for example, which is not a WordPress website, but again, it has a footer, I have on the bottom, thanks for visiting maytribe.com. This is the official website of May Arroyo in the community. We also have a Facebook group. Website contains affiliate links and affiliation with May Arroyo official partners. You get special deals and I get commissions on sign up. This is meant to help and support the free content on the channel. This is an affiliate disclaimer mandated by the FTC that I put on the footer because then it appears on every single page. However, for example, with a more complex website like the one I did last year with Pink Wall Art, on the footer, I put information about Think Wall Art, as well as sort of like a quick menu to access blog posts on these categories of wall art types like canvases and prints, wallpaper and decals, or even with different types of categories for trending wall art, for nursery, bathroom decor, and so on and so on. They're also linked to Facebook and Instagram, which probably don't work because it's an old website. There is a link to privacy policy and disclaimer, as well as copyright claim for Think Wall Art. Now, whatever you put in your footer or your header is up to you. There will be a video about best practices and stuff like that, but I need you to understand where these things are. Now, widget is a specific block inside one of these. So, for example, my sidebar is built from widgets. My sidebar is a visual representation on the side of every single page that I activate it on. And I will have a search widget, a text widget, an image widget. That's literally how it calls. There are technical ways to explain it, but I prefer to explain it in a less technical form. I hope that's okay. The header of our blog, the header of your website, will most likely contain the header menu, which is the top menu of navigation you want people to see when they log in. It could also include your social links as well as your logo. That's pretty much it. Now, I do want to talk about what is a blog, because I've heard people use it in a very different way. Now, a blog is three things. One, there is a technical term for the word blog. Two, it's a visual example of the word blog, I guess. And three, a blog is actually a verb. Let's start with the verb to explain everything else. So, to blog is to write about something, usually meant to write about something in your personal life because people used to blog about their lives all the time, as if anyone was interested. I think people were interested. It was much before Facebook. I've had Blog, which is sort of like Blogspot, but in Israel, or MySpace for Israelis. And that was a fun time, and I kind of miss it. I think I started blogging in, what was it, 2002? 2003? I don't know. Oh my God, I've been blogging for 20 years. That's insane. Now, a blog is also something visual that people see. For example, you can have a website that represents what you do, what you are, showcases your work, a store to purchase things from you, as well as a blog where you write about stuff. Or your entire website can be a blog, where in your entire website you write about these things, while you do have some pages like an about or contact or even shop, but those are secondary pages. Those are pages with less significance to the actual text that you're writing. Now, in technical terms, on WordPress and in a lot of places, a blog is basically a function, a piece of code that calls out to everything that is a post, which this is where we explain posts versus pages. Bear with me here. We have pages. I have a page, I will call it about. I will put in about me information. I will even put it in the menu, and people can click on my about page and see a page. Now I can also have a post, and that post would be five best plugins for WordPress blogs in 2023, and people can go into that post and get that piece of information. However, there are two main differences between the post and the page. One, My iPad just made noise. I think it's Airbnb. We're going to Greece in 2 days. I think it's my Airbnb host. I will get it later. A page sits under your website, doesn't sit under any category, and posts belong to categories. They also have tags and a lot more place for SEO. The main difference is that they all belong to a blog, which means that let's say I have pages on my website. I have an about page, a contact page, a services page, whatever. And then I wrote 5 different posts about different topics, whether it's 12 best funny mug gifts for dads, or, how to decorate your home for Christmas in pink, all these things. The minute that I add a blog, a link to a blog, it's a blog feed. That blog link, that blog ePRO, that blog click on the menu will open everything that is a post. It will display everything that is a post and not everything that is a page, which is why it's important to put your About Us as a page and not as a post, and to put articles that you want people to read in a specific category under post. Each post can belong to a category or multiple categories. And for example, if I have to break down the Think wall art thing, let me just go find one of these. So for example, one of my posts, which is macrame moon wall hanging, that promotes this macrame moon wall hanging. Oh my God. This was over 2.5 years ago. That's so cool. This post belongs to 2 categories, woven wall art and nursery wall art. Because if someone comes to this blog and searches for woven wall art category, they would like to see this. This is a beautiful moon that is woven. I love that word. And if someone comes in and looking for ideas for their nursery wall art, this will also fit. You put your posts in a specific category that fits, sort of like the Pinterest pins inside boards and sections, because we can have subcategories, which I don't recommend having unless your website is very complex. But imagine that you can put a pin inside multiple boards. What would those boards be? That would be your categories. If you're unsure what your categories should be, maybe comment down below, hey, I want to make a blog. I want the post to be an example of a few posts or what you want to promote, and ask me if I have category ideas. That would be a fun thing to do. Now, going back to our house, the posts and pages are basically functions of how I'm building my house. Think of a post as an independent unit to the house, and a post being a room built inside the house itself. Now, some themes come with more of these things. For example, a separate tab for events. This appears in a different way, behaves in a different way. A great example for that would be the WooCommerce plugin, because it creates a post that is a product. It's a different way to categorize a certain aspect of your website. And in this case, I would like to also share a funny story. Well, not really funny. It's kind of devastating for the person it happened to, but yeah. Let's see how you feel about this story. So I was approached by a woman. This was, I think it was mid 2020 when I was back in Israel after the pandemic started. And this woman heard that I'm doing WordPress websites, and she had a problem with her WordPress website. She has an insanely huge website for recipes, and she has over 12,000 recipes there. She got a theme that specializes in recipe websites, that has a plugin to create recipes. So instead of creating a blog post in a different category and putting the recipe there, she was using recipes. It was literally in the sidebar of her dashboard: posts, pages, recipes. And each time she created that recipe thing, it appeared as if it was a post on a separate class of its own. And then she noticed that people can no longer print the recipe. Obviously, I think they can just print it, but clicking on Control P, because everyone can print that way. But the print function of the recipe didn't work. She asked me if I can fix it. I told her I can't fix something that I can't look into. I looked into that and I realized that the theme that was used wasn't updated in a really long time. WordPress, and pretty much any system online, updates itself to the latest PHP version, to the latest models of mobiles and computers, same way that we have updates on our phone, same way that, for example, if you want to update to the latest version of Procreate, but your iPad is very old, you can't do that. The person in charge of the theme, the person who built the theme's developer, stopped updating it years ago. And the more WordPress became updated to the latest versions, It simply didn't work well. The solution in her case would be either to, I don't know, suffer and tell people that they can't print with that button, or to simply delete the entire website by updating a new theme, because her recipes were not posts. They were a separate category that only existed in that theme, which is why I don't really like it when people use WordPress in a very, very specialized way to get a very complex theme that does things in a crazy specific way. Because if that theme somehow falls apart, there's nothing you can do about it. You're losing all of your information. And if you're using Astra theme and everything falls apart with Astra and all of your posts are as a post or as a page with Elementor, no problem. Just switch to a different theme. Elementor still exists. It will still probably work and everything will be fine. It's really important to look at when you're doing like any kind of special plugin or theme. When was it last updated? Is it updating? That was a side note. I do want to mention something about menus and photos. So a menu usually appears on the top bar, and I'm going to use my website to Think Wall Art as an example. We have home button. We also have wall art types, which opens a drop-down menu. We also have trending, which opens a drop-down menu. Free printable wall art, which opens a link to a category that is internal, an about page, Pinterest, and Facebook. Now, you can also have a menu, as I can see here at the bottom, that I have a menu for wall art types or a menu for trendy wall art. Different themes with different complexity will give you the option to have menus of different types. Now, a lot of times you can put an external link on the menu, a link that goes out. If you put any link that is internal within your website, make sure that it opens on the same window. And if you put a link that goes somewhere else, make sure that it opens on a separate window for people to not lose your website. If you're using any affiliate links, you have to have a disclaimer on that. And generally speaking, you have to have cookie alert, disclaimers, terms of use, about, and contact pages on your website. I will specify more about those in the video where I'm building my own blog. Almost last, I feel like I want to talk about photos, and already this video is extremely long, which is why I did not make this a full design video. And I will also mention what will be the next few videos in the series. When it comes to uploading photos, you need to upload the smallest possible photo that you need. If you took a photo from your phone, and if you have a new phone, that photo is 3,000 pixels and it weighs a lot and it's heavy and your website will load very slow. Same as if you're downloading something from Placeit, for example, the photos would be huge, huge, and unnecessarily so. The image you need to use is the smallest image for the space that you need. And in the majority of cases, the maximum width for a photo that you're going to need is 1,200 pixels. In a lot of cases, I'm using photos that are even smaller than that. They're 300 by 300 pixels or 500 by 500 pixels, or again, different types of ratios. So 500 by 300 or 300 by 500. But you do not need large photos. You actually need to make them smaller. The photos need to be in JPEG format, not in PNG, because PNG is more complex and weighs a lot more. You're not selling the photo, you're using it to display. And if the photo that you've downloaded from Placeit, a different mockup website, one of your marketplaces, or you took yourself is either bigger than the dimensions you need or is not on JPEG format, I recommend going to Canva, creating a design in the size that you want, for example, 600 by 600 pixels, dragging the photo that you took to Canva, and then placing it as replace background on that photo and downloading it in JPEG. That will save you so much space on your hosting and will make your website run much, much faster. And don't worry that it downloads in 72 dpi. That is web DPI, because someone is watching your website on the internet and you do not need more. One last thing about photos is that when you upload a photo, the name of the photo on your computer should be already with the SEO keywords, because that is a part of SEO. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this is part 1 out of 2 parts of Intro to WordPress, and there will also be 2 parts of how to blog using WordPress. And the reason why I divided it into all these parts is because I didn't want to make a 5-hour video, forgive me for that, and also because I felt like different parts will be relevant for different people. I'm reminding you that WordPress, again, is an open source and you can host your WordPress websites with pretty much any hosting provider. But if you choose the hosting provider that I personally like, which is Hostinger, you'll find a discount code down below in the description with 10% off your hosting and domain packages. And that is on top of the fact that they're currently having a Black Friday sale. I'm going to leave 2 links on the screen right now. The first one is for a video on how to choose your domain name or shop name or business name or blog name. And I think that it's kind of a very basic and important video to watch. And the second one is obviously going to be Intro to WordPress Part 2. But with that being said, that was it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new or were at least entertained. And as usual, see you guys in my next video. Bye!